this is too cold on you, let me just let me know.
Good. Thank you.
Put this down a little bit. There you go. I'm going to talk over it just a little bit.
Okay, check.
All right, continuing our conversation now here on Biz Radio. So glad to have you with us. Want to remind everybody, tomorrow night we have a business social. It's going to be taking place at the Casual Pint from 5:30 until 7. Everybody's invited to come on out, and first drink's on us. And so we partner up with Incredible Towns of Asheville to do these monthly events, and it really is just what it says, a business social. It's not a traditional marketing kind of event or networking kind of event, because we're just hanging out and getting to know each other, build relationships and friendships in the business community, and it doesn't mean that business isn't going on between people, but it's a nice atmosphere that's just kind of kick back and build those connections within our community. So come on out and join us tomorrow night, Casual Pint from 5:30 until 7 o'clock. All right, I want to welcome our second guest of the day. Michelle's not really a guest because, girlfriend and co-host all the time too. But Shannon Lee Nickerson is here with us, and she's a health and wellness expert, coach, and educator and speaker. And welcome to Biz Radio. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I always look forward to getting to meet people and kind of hear their stories and everything. And I always start off with the same standard questions for everybody. It doesn't matter if I've interviewed presidential candidates or someone who's thinking about starting a business tomorrow. It's always the same start off, and that is, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from originally, and how'd you get involved doing what you do today?
Awesome. So I was born in Rutland, Vermont, so technically a Yankee, but
Boston native myself.
Boston, yep. And then I moved to Charlotte when I was about 3. So, and then I was raised in the South primarily until I was about 15. Yeah, so I moved around a lot. My dad was a brilliant nuclear engineer, and so we moved every 3 years or so. So that was kind of part of my
it's like
journey.
A military life.
Yeah. People are like, "You're military?" I'm like, "No,"
right.
But it felt like it. So I bounced around a lot, but it was mostly like Charlotte, Atlanta, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, back to Vermont, and then college at University of Georgia. So made me a very adaptable kiddo. But it gave me a lot of challenges with my health, and which is kind of what started my journey.
Yeah, so that's it's one thing to feel called or led, or circumstances lead you into a situation where you find a lane of service to help people out. It's another to have all those things happen and then say, I want to do it for myself and my own business.
Yeah,
it's two very different tracks.
Yeah.
So the journey of finding this lane of service to help other people and everything, your personal experiences you mentioned led to that. What led to the, hey, I want to do my own business in this? Did you have exposure to entrepreneurs in your life or anything? Or?
Well, my sister is an entrepreneur, and I started, I don't know where it honestly came from. I think that, I was in the corporate world right when I graduated from college, and I just kind of always thought, I was like, well, I always had ideas that I thought might be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I was like, if this was my business and I was doing it this way, this is how I would do it, And so, and I love to travel, and I love the freedom of traveling and being able to be in service to other people doing what I love.
Yeah, it's a unique thing. There's a special strand of DNA or something for people that
there's a gene
that say,
for it.
There's a gene, or there's something that just triggers people, I think, at an early age. Some people it's life circumstances, but other people it's just it's a natural gravity they end up feeling in their lives that, well, I want to be able to try this idea out and see if it works or not. And if it doesn't, fine, I'll adjust, I'll try something else. And you're right, in a lot of corporate settings, that's not conducive to that.
Yeah. Well, and I struggled with my health since I was a little kid. I had chronic allergies, chronic fatigue. I was constantly tired, and I was an athlete. And it caught up with me. By the time I turned 28, it caught up with me bad. And I started coaching then part-time and helping people with their health as I started to make changes with my health and get off medications and antibiotics and Claritin and Benadryl. And as I started to do that, and then both of my parents were diagnosed with cancer before I was 40. And so I was in real estate at the time. So real estate kind of gave me this piece of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
But I was under a broker, so I kind of had this little security blanket. And I was always too scared to be a health coach on my own full time. And then my dad passed of cancer, and then my mom passed 5 years later, and I was like, that's it. I don't care if I have to live in a shoebox. Like, people just need education, because my parents were both, making good decisions, didn't have more than 2 drinks a week. They were both really active. They followed the FDA food plate.
So you felt there was something missing in the formula.
Something big was missing, yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And so I've been full time.
So was it something where you launched off of, things that you saw in your own journey that you wanted to duplicate to others, or is it something where you're like, there's got to be a different answer out there, and then actively seeking new information, or maybe a combo of both?
It was a little bit of both, right? Because I had a number of different challenges, and as a kid, I had seen a lot of doctors, and they wanted to put me, they wanted to give me allergy shots. They wanted to give me Accutane for my acne, Lexapro for my anxiety. Birth control pills was going to fix everything. And I was like, well, I'm not a hormone specialist, but if birth control pills is going to fix my hormones, then obviously I have a hormonal imbalance. But there weren't health coaches or anyone in the field, 20 years ago doing this work to kind of guide you with your food and nutrition rather than medications, at least that I couldn't find. And I was banging down a lot of doors. So a lot of it was personal experience. And then as I started to transform, other people wanted to know what I was doing. And then with my parents coming, being a part of their transition and caring for them, and having a lot of knowledge of nutrition and lifestyle planning when they were sick was helpful. And those 2 things really helped me create a protocol that's over about 18 years of my experience and knowledge of working with hundreds of people to really help them figure out like what's fueling your body and what's causing disease and stress and inflammation.
And we've heard from a lot of people on here where they start at a certain point and they're trying to address a need that they see either in their own circle or in their broader community or anything. And as they start engaging and serving to that need through the relationships they build up, other needs start to identify themselves. And there's one of 3 things people can do. Either they can go ahead and try to learn how to be a solution for that need. They can build relationships to refer to people that can address that need, or they choose to ignore it and just focus to the lane they were in. Did you start to experience that as you went, and how did you navigate that?
I was in all 3 lanes.
Yeah.
18 years I was like playing them all. When I was a kid, I was using food, and particularly like junk food and sugar, for fuel, because I was an athlete. So I was like addicted to adrenaline and sugar and Doritos and Fun Dip and anything in a bag, box, or can. And I didn't know that all those things were making my allergies worse and making my immune system more compromised. So, till I was about 28, actually, that was the lane I was in. As I was like, I don't understand why this isn't working. What,
You mean the invincible age?
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand, And then I started rock climbing and was spending every day outside. And I got a lot more serious as an athlete. And I was like, okay, I need food to fuel. Like, what's going on? And that's when everything shifted. And I was like, okay, I'm going to become my own best healer right now, because I was refusing medications and was told I had chronic fatigue. And they were like, well, of course you're tired. Nobody rock climbs every day. And I was like, well, I am.
Different kind of tired too.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
And so I know that you branched into other areas of with the stress management and yoga and things like that. How did those expansions or evolutions come about?
Well, yeah, it was usually part of a deep, dark hole I was in. Like, I found, I started yoga and the rock climbing kind of at the same time. And it was my, kind of finding my identity right after college. And I'd been a cheerleader for, till my first year of college. And it was like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And so I found nature, and nature started bringing me a little bit more peace, reducing my anxiety, building my self-esteem, and then started building my confidence. So emotionally, I was getting better, even though my food wasn't changing. didn't realize there was a connection there. And so that really started to shift things for me. And
so when you made the decision, because you have certification in things, right? I mean, so you went through the education and certification process and everything. Was it something where, okay, you were learning things on your own and everything, but in order to add another service or another solution to your clients, okay, I've got to go get this certification and everything. Was it something you had a mentor that helped guide you to what you would need there, or did you have to figure it out on your own?
Again, it was like, I pretty much, I mean, to be honest, it was like, if it was acne, I was like, okay, I'm going to go study gut health. Because apparently all my mentors at the time was like, your gut is a wreck because you've been on antibiotics twice a year since you were a kid. You got to rebuild your gut. And I was like, what does that mean? This is 20 years ago. I was like, probiotics? So a mentor my system would go off track, the mentor would help me, and then I would study gut health. So that was one of the first things I did was, how do I rebuild my gut after being on antibiotics for so many years?
Now, I also know that you have focused your services and your calling of what you're doing and your coaching, you focus a lot to women specifically. Explain a little bit of how it came to be that you had discerned that, okay, here's where I want to focus.
It was mostly the hormonal stuff I went through, and a lot of the emotions and anxiety and the frustration around not being able to get the help and having, because it happened, every 7 years, every cell in your body will turn over, right? So at 28, I had a crisis, right? And then it was like, okay, I'm going to go study this and get out of this hole, and that would help, and I'd be good for a while. And then I was 35, and then it was acne again, and depression, and I almost got married to the wrong man, and it was like, and I was like, okay, so now I'm going to specialize and study hormone health, right? And so that's what really my journey, having all these little challenges for myself, were usually driven by some dark, experiencing loss or frustration in my life.
And when do you see now that people turn to you? Are they proactive before they get to that point? Or do you see the people that come to you, they reach out to you when they're in their own dark hole?
It's a combination of both. And I guess I'm more prone to working with women because it was, with the fluctuating hormones, I just felt really called to help them in particular. I do have a corporate wellness program now where I work with both men and women. But yeah, I see a combination of both, some of the men that I work with are, just trying to lose weight and they're working out and they're like, well, I'm working out 3 times a week and I'm still not losing weight and I'm eating really healthy. So we look at, okay, well, let's look at your breakfast, lunch, and dinner and figure out what's not working for you. And so I had a client lose about 20 pounds, but it wasn't just the 20 pounds. He went down 4 belt loops in his belt in about 6 months.
And I can say from personal experience, the effect that has on your overall life, your attitude, your energy, your creativity, it spreads like wildfire through your whole spirit. I mean, it's not just about, oh, well, I lost some weight. It's very empowering. I've been through it, and, in full disclosure, I'm an open book. You learn that the more you talk with me. But I had a series of events where, one, I didn't realize that men somewhere around 37 to 42 go through their own change. You always hear about, about menopause, and everything. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, menopause. There's changes that guys go through with our stamina and our, I'm losing the mind here as far as the words and everything, but the food I'm taking in, and I could lose 5-10 pounds if I wanted. That stopped. Yeah. It just stopped. My metabolism. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. But I had a series of things that happened that culminated with bad decisions, lifestyle, lack of exercise, bad diet, and then all of a sudden I had an acute situation where I got Lyme disease from a tick bite right here in Swannanoa, actually. And the way it hit my organs just triggered every bad decision I was making about my life came crashing down very quickly. And I had to make the decision to make changes because I found myself dealing with diabetes, found myself dealing with some other issues that were triggered. I had created the scenario that the Lyme disease tipped me over the edge, but within a year, I got off all the medication. I had lost, my A1C was back at a good level, and I was not on the medications. And it was because of simple changes I'd made into my routines, my diet. And I'm still losing. I've got pants now that I'm waiting to buy new ones because I don't want to buy new ones. I'm still losing. But you could fit two of my, I could get 4 legs in the 2 legs of my pants right now. So I share that personal story because for folks out there that may be in a situation where they're dealing with some struggles and everything. And I have some people that tell me like, Matt, where in the world do you get the energy? You're doing all this stuff. You have your agency business. You got the radio station going on. You're on these boards, everything. I'm like, no, man, I'm active. I have that energy. That's where it began.
Yeah.
And so, what would you say if you had to look at a big bully in the room? What would it be when it comes to nutrition? Because you've mentioned that a lot. Is there a habit or a source that people are using that really needs to be brought out onto the table and talked about?
Yeah, sugar.
Not sugar, anything but sugar. That's what some people are saying right now.
Well, and we don't realize it, but it's like in our ketchup. It's in our salad dressings. So it's hidden.
In our cough drops.
Yeah, it's hidden everywhere. So I think, and I'm not like, I grew up on sugar, so I'm very realistic, like I'm the queen of substitution, right? I love happy hour and, I love my sweet treats, but there's ways that you can crowd out your cravings, right? So I teach people how to do that. And then there's different choices that you can make, instead of a Reese peanut butter cup, you can go for my raspberry chocolate mousse that's in my detox, right? So just changing the form of the sugar. So I'm all about eating fruit and maple syrup and honey and coconut milk creamer in your coffee and so I'm not like anti-sugar, but let's look at the source of the sugar. Like high fructose corn syrup is, behind a lot of the problems that we're seeing.
Well, and I know that today there's a lot more options for people to shop.
Yeah.
For their groceries and their regular things that they're doing that wasn't there 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So what, as a coach, how do you intervene? What's that process look like? Someone's listening right now and they go, well, what you guys are sharing, I'm in or I've been in those. I see the cycle and everything. What does it look like when they contact a coach and they say, hey, come out and let's get together? What's that process?
So I work with all my clients remote over the phone. So the first thing we do is we connect on the phone and we talk about, what is your number one struggle? And maybe it's insomnia or, I'm working out 3 times a week, I'm eating healthy and I can't lose weight. That could be a number of things, right? It could be a number of different inflammations. So I might look at what they're eating for breakfast. Are you eating breakfast? In my opinion, I believe that eating breakfast within an hour of waking up is the number one thing you can do to balance your blood sugar levels. And if you miss that boat, you've been fasting all night, right? Which is why it's called breakfast, because you're breaking the fast. So if you can wake up and eat breakfast within an hour, your body is going to start burning fat. But if you wake up and you start doing your Energizer Bunny moves and burning a bunch of fuel, your body can start to burn muscle instead of fat, and then your blood sugar balance gets altered, and that's where we really struggle. All day long you're trying to catch up, right? And balance that blood sugar level and balance your cravings, and then your cortisol gets off. And so I think one of the best things somebody can do is look at what they're eating for breakfast. I tell people, you want a protein, fat, and fiber. So I'm a big fan of smoothies. They changed my life. It's the easy way to get micronutrition into your body.
I had a smoothie just recently that they ground some kale into it, and I was like, kale? But it was...
You didn't even know.
I didn't even know because they used honeydew and green apples and then the kale. Awesome. I didn't even know the kale it was so good.
That's a good smoothie when you don't know the kale's in there.
It was so good. I loved it.
That's
Matter
always
of fact,
my
I know
goal.
what I need to do. If I can swing by there tomorrow and get one.
Yeah. I mean, they're my favorite thing. So I tell people to, look at what you're craving, and the first step is to look at what foods need to be replaced.
Yeah.
People know. I'm like, what do you think is your number one problem? They're like, I drink 3 Diet Cokes a day.
Yeah.
Or I put Splenda in my coffee every single day.
And people watching on National Channel. Oops, I'm feeling guilty. I'm shrinking in my chair when I've got a Diet Coke right over here. Well, one of the things that we like to do in our conversations is, of course, get to know your story and how you got to where you're at, and talk about what you're doing. But the other thing is from a mentor standpoint, business to business, because we are a community business station. What advice would you have, since you focus this coaching? I mean, you're helping whoever needs the help, but you have a specialized focus to female clients that may need the coaching. Any special advice you have to female entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs out there?
Yes, that's a great question, because I did it on my own for many years, actually. I mean, in real estate, I had a mentor, but I think you need to have a mentor. You need to have a coach. I think having a business coach to keep you accountable and look at your cash flow, look at your goals, and the most common mistake I see people do is work on their website. Well, I'm not going to talk to anyone about what I do until my website's ready. And I'm like, but your website's not going to generate income. You generate the income.
Mm-hmm.
And with a dynamic personality, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs have, is they're outgoing. It's like, you're going to do great. You just need to get out there and start talking to people. Don't wait for your website or things that don't generate income.
Just some good old-fashioned,
Yeah, just do some networking and meeting people. And so
good advice.
Yeah, I encourage people to stay focused on the things that generate income, revenue generating activities, and not things that don't. And your website is not necessarily.
That's good advice. Let's focus on some things that generate business activity. What are ways that people can interact with you? What's the best way to get in touch, or what kind of things you have coming up that you might want to tell people about?
I've got the way people can work with me is I have a private one-on-one coaching program. I also do my seasonal signature detox program. That's a group program. And then I have corporate wellness programs. The easiest way to work with me is to jump in one of my master classes that I offer monthly. And I have one coming up this Thursday at 7 p.m. It's via Zoom, so it's a live video. And you can sign up at mysmoothiebook.com. And you'll also get my free 9 smoothies to help you ditch your cravings and ditch sugar for good book.
Very good. And you have a website people can go to?
ShannonNickerson.com is my website. And the easiest way to work with me is go to my website. I offer 15-minute complimentary sessions. And again, you can learn a lot in my masterclass this Thursday at 7. I'm going to be talking about how to get your energy back and thyroid health, because that seems to be a really big problem for folks.
Yeah, and the last few weeks I've been closing out interviews by just saying a word, and then you process it and say whatever you want to say about it, And
oh boy!
So for our conversation, I'm going to say like hope or faith, either one of those things, about confidence that things work out, hope or faith. What do you think about that?
Soar. I want people to soar in their life. Like, life is too short to not have vitality, energy, because that's what helps us share our gifts in the world. And we all have gifts, each and every one of us. So if we can rise up and learn the tools that we need to learn to unlock the key of what makes our bodies tick, then we can soar and we can all be successful. And
very good. And that's in everyone.
Yeah.
It's there to unlock.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Right. Appreciate having you here, Shannon Lee Nickerson. I get to wave on your video feed. And then we'll turn around and wave to this video feed over here. We got double video feeds in the studio today.
Thanks, Matt.
All
so much fun.
All right, and we're going to take a quick news break update, and we'll continue with more conversation on the other side. Also, Clyde Volpe's coming up later in the show today to talk about marketing, branding, some suggestions and ideas there as well. So stick around. We'll continue with more right after this. You're on Biz Radio, biz1350.com, and also on AshevilleChannel.com as well. All right. Good. Yeah.
Superstar.